In 17th century Italy, young women born into poverty were largely relegated to field work and domestic labor. Without access to schooling, their lives were defined by physical exhaustion and a total absence of intellectual instruction. Rose Venerinini's upbringing followed a different path. Born in Viterbo to an educated physician, she grew up in a wealthy home and, at the age of 7, made a personal vow to dedicate her life to God. Her plans for a quiet life were disrupted by a quick series of tragedies. Within a few years, her fiancé, her father, her brother, and her mother all died. Seeking refuge from the grief, she entered a Dominican monastery. At the time, the monastery was the only socially acceptable place for a devout, educated woman to seek a purposeful life. Outside the convent walls, there were few opportunities for women to use their minds in service to the faith. Rose's time in the convent lasted only a few months. After returning home to care for her family, she began inviting women from her neighborhood to join her for group prayer. These gatherings revealed a stark reality. The women could not recite the rosary. They had no understanding of their faith beyond a few half-remembered traditions. This left Rose torn. She still desired the silence of the cloister, yet she was now confronted with a generational lack of education right outside her front door. Her spiritual director, the Jesuit Father Ignatius Martinelli, intervened with a radical suggestion. He guided her to see that her true mission lay in public education rather than monastic isolation. Pursuing a religious life in the world was a significant departure from 17th century norms. Piety for women was expected to be private and hidden, not performed as a public service in the streets of Viterbo. In August 1685, Rose opened Italy's first free public school for girls. To gather her students, a young girl would walk through Viterbo daily, ringing a handbell to call women and children out of their homes. Her model unified practical education with spiritual growth. Lessons in reading, writing, and manual labor took place alongside the study of the catechism and daily prayer. The success of this curriculum quickly shifted the school's demographics. While originally designed for the poor, the classrooms soon included the daughters of impoverished nobles, who sought the same quality of instruction. By teaching academic skills and spiritual formation in the same room, Rose's curriculum allowed women to pursue intellectual development as a direct path towards religious devotion. This public role brought Rose under intense scrutiny. Stepping outside of the home to lead an institution challenged the traditional boundaries of her time. Local clergy offered some of the strongest resistance. They viewed the teaching of the faith as a male prerogative and felt Rose was overstepping her authority. The opposition eventually turned violent. Opponents shot arrows at the teachers and, in one instance, set their residence on fire. Rose remained steady. She stated that she was so bound to the divine will that she wanted only to serve as God pleased, regardless of the threat to her life. She proved her commitment through this physical endurance. Her faith was anchored in her persistence against the very institutions that attempted to shut her schools down. As the literacy and religious knowledge of her students improved, the social benefits to the community became undeniable. This tangible progress eventually forced the church hierarchy to reconsider its opposition. Bishops who had once criticized Rose began asking her to organize schools. Between 1692 and 1694, Cardinal Barberino requested 10 schools near Lake Bolsena. In 1716, Pope Clement XI visited her Roman school, stating, "Signora Rosa, you are doing that which we cannot do." This papal endorsement moved Rose's work from a marginalized and dangerous experiment into a sanctioned and respected part of the Catholic Church's mission. By the time Rose died in 1728, she had opened and directed more than 40 schools across the region. Her group of teachers grew into a formal religious congregation, the Venerini sisters. They eventually carried her educational model beyond Italy, serving immigrants and marginalized groups across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. In 2006, Pope Benedict XVI canonized her, providing the final historical and spiritual vindication of her life struggle. Saint Rose Venerinini's life suggests that religious devotion does not always require retreating from the world. Often, faith is found by stepping directly into the fire to advocate for the dignity and education of others.